Okay, okay. Now I have a question. Is it difficult or is it easy for you to envision the images in your mind? Like, say for example, if you watch sports, it was something that you had seen before, so you might remember the Kansas City Chiefs or the Browns, their uniforms or different things, or playing the game. But you watch a brand new movie where you don't know any of the characters or the actors. Can you? Is it difficult or easy to process that?
Yeah, it's not difficult because at the end of the day, it's more about the story than what the people look like. Now, I mentioned Black
Hmm.
Panther and any of the Marvel movies. Fortunately, I was able to read those comic books before I lost my sight, so I can. Those are very clear. Um, I do, and I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. It is hard for me to go somewhere and people talking about how beautiful the Peter Nyanga is and some of these other ladies, and then I can't see that, and then she won't describe that to me. So
Yes,
Oh
I
wow.
do. No, so okay. So in my own
you be like,
defense,
she's cute. And I'm like, well, how cute is she?
in my own defense, I'll speak for myself, and I'll also speak on something that I don't know if Corey even notices, but it's not difficult for Corey to recall certain things. Because even now, I'll say something like about a football team, or I'll mention something, and Corey will say, "Oh, that team is this, or that team is that." So I'll say their helmet has a blue eagle. I'm just making something up. I don't even
A
know a
green
team.
eagle.
See, I don't even know a team. So yeah, a green eagle, and he'll say the name of the team. But then other times, if it's like this, just being descriptive, describing things, I notice that people that don't realize how much descriptions help everybody, they will kind of generalize things to Corey. He won't know exactly what they are talking about, but he's been able to see. He's still living out here in the world, and so he can kind of follow. But then I'll come and I'll give a super description, like a really detailed description. And then Corey will say, "Oh, like so and so. Oh, okay, I got you now." So I know for me, I just am really mindful of always being descriptive as I can, using a lot of details with information. And another thing is Corey, I'll tell him about if he needs to know like what somebody looks like, he can kind of gauge their height or their size, like even heaviness by the handshake, by the way they walk. Not to say that big people stomp, but bigger people walk heavier.
Right, right.
And so, you know what I mean? And we joke about that because Corey says that about women and stuff like, oh, she's kind of hippie, huh? Like,
Yeah,
like if he's walking with
yeah,
somebody and they swinging.
yeah. I'm getting seasick from the waves and the motion, or
Right.
or even like if a woman has high heels on. We had this one friend that the guy should just go cuckoo over, and I was in the hallway waiting for her at the university, and before she got to me, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She said, "How'd you know it was me?" And I said, "You want the lie or the truth?" She said, "Tell me the truth." I said, "It's the way your feet fall. You got that click, 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 click. That means you got that even hip rotation, which means that you got that walk going." I said, "But if you got click, 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 then I know, okay, yeah, that's probably a real smaller woman where it was click, click. Yeah, a more
A
a
thicker
thicker
woman.
sister,
Yeah,
yeah,
a
a fuller
fuller
figure
version.
sister, yeah. So she put that theory to the test and let three women walk by, and I still picked her out of the bunch. And so she said, "Dad," she said, "That's better than Ray Charles."
Oh wow. Okay, okay. I wanted to talk about the performing a little bit. Now you say you do like historical characters or historical stories.
I'll explain it because, like, when I say we're storytellers, Corey and I will show up looking like this, or we might have a polo shirt on, or we might have some African garb, right? Just depending
Okay.
on the event. And a lot of our work has been a 1 hour presentation for adults, maybe at a university, at a conference, or for K through
Corporate team builders,
yeah, offices for corporate team builders, or it might be for K through 12 schools or libraries, museums,
festivals.
festivals. Yeah. So let's talk about if we're at any of these places I just mentioned, not the festivals, because the festivals is typically where we will put on something visual because people are
Okay.
passing by and whatnot. Most other presentations, we do a 1 hour presentation that involves storytelling, music, and engagement. And the big thing is engagement because we're teaching something. And so we're not telling stories the whole time. We're putting on a show. It's a complete performance where we have an opening, we have a close, and we have the meat in the middle with it, which is the information. And so we get that information out through a story that we tell, through the opening that we do. And that opening might be an icebreaker, it might be a song. Sometimes we read minds as an icebreaker or an opener, for example. And we aren't actually reading minds, it's a technique that we do. Just to break the ice with our audience and just to have a little bit of fun, give them some insight, get them asking questions. We have a lot of call and response or feedback so that whatever we're discussing with them, they're repeating because we use certain learning modalities that we've learned along the way in our training. So that way, if we're doing a 1 hour presentation on podcasts, we'll give you an example, okay? So we might open up with reading minds and we'll say, today we're going to talk about podcasts, so let's get going. We'll do the mind reading thing, and we might, or if we're live with the audience, we might even open with a song or just by playing music, right? And then we might tell a story, and we might say, what did you learn from that story? If that story is the Three Little Pigs, if that story is, give me another one, Corey, one of the Hans Christian Andersen tales or African folk
It
tale.
could be the story of the Emperor Mali, Sanjata Keita.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the story of Nancy the Spider. It could be a story about, like you said, the Three Pigs, the Little Red Riding Hood.
Because we have our own adaptations of these stories.
Yeah, fractured fairy tales. Instead of Little Red Riding Hood, we do Little Red Riding in the Hood.
So they all bring in like modern, yeah, they bring in modern, modern things. And the audience is listening to these stories, and we're bringing out lessons about a podcast. What did Red's mom tell her? Like Little Red might be going to her grandmother's house to record a podcast in this particular version, or to listen to one. Or when the big bad wolf catches her and is talking to her, she might say, I'm on my way to grandma's house. I'm going to be late for the podcast. But we're telling the traditional story. And then at the end of it, we might have different questions for the audience, different things to engage